Okay, so we are live. Welcome everyone to another one of our auto review where we dive into some of the automotive world's biggest players behind the scenes, the unsung heroes, I call them, in the automotive industry. And today we're tackling a topic that sparks fear in many car buyers, which is purchasing a used car. So we'll be unpacking some eye-opening data from a nationwide survey that reveals what car sellers hide and what buyers fear and how AI, aut- automotive intelligence, well, sorry, artificial intelligence. This is the automotive review
It's
show.
both. It's artificial intelligence in the automotive space. So
Intelligence,
yeah, I know Apple
technology.
calls it Apple intelligence too. So it can go both ways. It's fun to be
Yeah,
creative with it.
yes, artificial intelligence technologies is revolutionizing the game, and we've got some compelling insights into how dealers and buyers alike can benefit from AI-powered diagnostics like those offered by Appraisal Pro. Now, Appraisal Pro, that's the correct term. I will leave the link in the description box to the website. So it is my pleasure to bring to you one of the key players behind the technology that we will be using to make our lives better for many, many years to come. Please welcome Tim Jordan, head of Appraisal Pro, fixed automotive's B2B product arm and product professional and engineer, an industrial engineer from Georgia Tech. Tim, this is a very long introduction, and your resume is very impressive. I'm stumbling going over all the accolades. So, Tim, please tell us, introduce us to the world.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you going through all that. It's quite kind, quite flattering. Yeah, I'm Tim Jadon. I'm the head of Appraisal Pro here, and I've worked at Fixed Consumer Wing for about 4 years now, Fixed Automotive, and then this year switched over to the B2B wing on our product Appraisal Pro, and we have some really exciting survey insights that we're eager to talk about here for some really high quality data that we got from sellers of cars recently. So excited to get into it, and great to meet you, Chris. It's an honor.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a big question. Now, we heard about a survey, and what we'd like to know is what percentage of used car buyers discover serious problems soon after leaving the lot, because it's a reality many people don't want to face. But your new survey reveals that a shocking number of buyers end up driving off with serious mechanical issues they didn't even know about, issues that could cost them thousands of dollars. In fact, how many buyers find themselves stuck with problems that cost basically more than $2,000?
Yeah, I mean it's a surprisingly large number from our data, right? We found that 27% of buyers discovered serious mechanical problems in the first 6 months of ownership. That's close to a third, right? I mean, that's quite big, and that doesn't do anything to quell the anxieties of people going out to purchase cars and looking in the used car market. So that 27% definitely surprised me, and we find that among those, about one fourth of those find that they have to pay $2,000 or more to resolve those issues. So again, I mean, it's a pretty large issue, and it's not doing anything for both the consumers and the people selling these cars. It's really adding to environment of distrust in the used car marketplace. Now, even on top of this, these are only the issues that they identify, right? These are only the issues that are found, but we definitely think that that's a high number, and yeah, it was surprising to us for sure.
Okay, but no, here where things really get even more interesting. So, how much more trust do buyers have in dealers over having dealers in over private sellers, so to speak, if any? And it's a question we've all wondered when weighing whether to go through a dealership or take a chance on a private seller. I hope that this survey shines a light on how buyers are thinking about trust, especially in the age of big data and transparency.
Yeah, it's a really solid question. Our survey indicated that 37% of buyers decided against purchasing from a dealership due to concerns about that seller's reputation. So there's definitely a level of distrust in the dealership space. Now, the people that we surveyed were people who had sold the vehicles to dealerships. And so in that space, the people that sold them to dealerships, they had more trust in dealerships than they did in these independent uh, private party sales. Now, I will say too that that doesn't mean that there's a dealership, like there's a lot of dealership trust, right? In another survey, I was doing some other research. We found that 84% think transparency is heavily lacking at most car dealerships, right? And anecdotally, I know I sold a car. I sold my 2016 Honda Accord uh, a year ago. Really, I actually ended up selling it this year, but I wanted to test the market, and I went out to the Facebook Marketplace because I was
Hmm.
talking to some friends, and it seems like that's where a lot of stuff happens these days, which is an interesting evolution of the sales marketplace for sure. And it was difficult. I was getting all sorts of bots, messaging me.
Yeah.
It was hard to decipher what is real and what's not. I was getting lots of low balls. Even dealerships were coming in and trying to sell or trying to buy my car, but they were being kind of really low with it. And I was
Mhm.
luckily, I mean, I'm in the industry, but I think data is at an all-time high for consumers and for dealerships. Hopefully, if they choose to use it. And I was able to kind of weed out some of these issues. And I ultimately ended up selling it to a friend because I was kind of like, this is too frustrating. I'm
Mhm.
not getting much serious going on in the private space. But I was trying to try the private space because I did have a bit of a desire to go outside the dealership space because of that reputation, right? There's definitely a reputation for dealerships.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of dealerships, unfortunately, they have synonymously gained the terminology called stealerships because
Yeah.
of the bad taste that they put in a lot of their consumers' mouth, and it has to do with poor customer service. But let's not forget that distrust in used car dealers is a huge issue. Just how widespread is this distrust, with horror stories about lemons and hidden problems servicing all the time? It makes consumers very, very skeptical. But here's the real question: what technology could restore trust in used car buying? And so, with Appraisal Pro's AI spotting, I know that they can do a lot of these things in terms of mechanical issues. Walk us through that, if you may.
Yeah, I will. So again, I think, like you said, distrust in dealerships is pretty huge. And I I think that, you know, trust is something that is heavily needed in this space, and dealerships need to focus on. And I think the way to do that is by using high quality data and being transparent with your customers to make data driven decisions while also passing that off to your customers. And that's what Appraisal Pro does, and can help in the process. But if we think about the market, 2 years ago, we were at car prices were 40% or more higher than they were in 2019. The
Hmm.
pandemic, as I know, really roiled the market, brought down supply, caused supply chains to come to a halt.
Yeah,
And so there was a lot of issues there. Car prices went up. Dealerships, could be a bit more lenient with the cars they purchase, because then they could turn it around and make a big profit. Now, nowadays, the supply is higher. I was looking at some data. It's more like 20% higher than the prices are 20% higher than they were in 2019. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's not all the
hmm,
way back to how they were in 2019. I don't think it's ever going to be. But dealerships need something else to be able to make profit. I mean, the margins are just getting tighter and tighter because consumers are more prepared with data and information. You can go on Kelly Blue Book and get market values.
yeah,
You can use consumer scanners to clear your check engine lights before you sell it, to try to hide
yeah.
things. Like there
If
are
you
a
go
lot of
if you go
tools
to the
now.
dealership, they have their black book as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And I think that now, I really think that if you're a dealership and you're not using high quality data to make data driven decisions and being fully transparent with your customers, then you're going to be left in the dust, because customers are looking to trust somebody, and they have more options and they can go to another dealership. Just like our data showed, we saw that something like 30% of users have gone to a dealership and then felt kind of not great about what they're seeing, and gone to another, right? And
Mhm.
we think that you need to input this data into the process, and we think that's how you'll be successful in this market.
Okay. Now, the other question I want to ask you is for anyone who is actually new coming onto the program, tell them exactly what Appraisal Pro is.
Yeah, good question. So AppraisalPro is a vehicle appraisals tool that dealerships and other enterprises use, so that when a seller is bringing your dealership a vehicle, you can take our OBD2 scanner, plug it into the car, use our app to scan the vehicle, and receive a vehicle condition report with the reconditioning costs that are associated with that car based on what our OBD2 scanner finds. So we find that, many dealerships are either not using OBD2 in their process, and we find that in talking to some of these customers, or they're using kind of big clunky scanners that they have to kind of go back to the back office and bring out, and then do a lot of research into the codes. But Appraisal Pro takes these codes, turns them into reconditioning costs and the repairs that your maintenance shop will have to do, so that you can use that to reduce your price and accurately assess the value of the vehicle and make smart buying decisions.
Okay. Oh, great. That's the way how technology should be used to assisting us to make our decisions and our lives a little bit even better. And how does it work with all model cars, both old, new, and even EVs that are coming up right now? How does it work with especially electric cars?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it works for 1996 cars and in the and more, right? Anything later than a 96. We don't have full electric vehicle coverage. We have some, and we have a team that is consistently working to increase our coverage for electric vehicles, as well as some of these new advanced kind of control modules that are coming out in all these different makes and models. And we have a pretty big program that works to constantly improve the process there. So we don't work for kind of all modern, but we consistently improve that, and we show progress each month. One of the issues that we have is that these nowadays things are getting a lot more proprietary, right? Like every year there's new codes that are hidden behind subscriptions and paywalls from every single make and manufacturer, and that can make it
Yeah.
difficult to identify and to get all codes. And so we have a process of working with these manufacturers to get that data, but it takes time and engineering.
Yeah, thank you for that. The thing is, even since lately, a lot of companies, well, a lot of car manufacturers, they're going into subscription services. And this also means servicing on the back end, where they will offer repair services, but a lot of the information you won't independent shops and garages won't be able to access these information. So a lot of people will be forced to go back to the dealership in order to effect repair. And the law that is in some states, especially in the United States, but not all across the United States. Some states have this right to repair law
Right.
that they have, that gives owners the privilege and the benefit to work on their own cars without having the hassle to go back to the dealership. But the question is this: will Appraisal Pro be available for the individual or just dealerships in the long term, because of how the new technology is being put forward in these modern cars?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Appraisal Pro is very focused on the dealership and kind of enterprise level, larger groups. We provide unlimited scans and provide these comprehensive conditioning reports that are
Mhm.
meant for negotiation with customers and understanding the vehicle health on a massive scale. We have analytics platforms so that you can dig into
Hmm.
your entire organization, how much in reconditioning costs you're finding, figure out which cars have the most reconditioning costs so that you can have your data team come in and try to make more calculated, data-driven decisions on which vehicles to go out and focus on. So AppraisalPro is squarely in the dealership and enterprise level model. Now we still have fixed and fixed premium, which is our consumer model, which will get you things like this estimated repair costs, but we have limits on the amount of cars that you can use, and it doesn't get you all those analytics and the customer facing condition report. And we invest into both of them heavily and see both as the future. But yeah, they are separate, ultimately separate technologies, and appraisal pros for dealerships.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's good to know. And finally, for those of you wondering, are consumers willing to pay for this kind of technology to ensure they aren't stuck with a lemon? And that's a big question. What would you say for those people on the fence? What motivation will you? Well, what marketing or sales skills? Let's see how good you are with that. Encouraging those to tap into Appraisal Pro's benefits.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think the market is resoundingly saying yes. Both consumers uh, of our product are eager to get data in, but also the purchasers of the vehicles, the buyers of vehicles from dealerships, they want more information, they want more transparency, they want more honesty, and they have a lot, whether your dealership is offering it or not. And
Yeah.
so, if you're not getting this data, then you're going to lose in the market. Is really my main thing to take away here, because again, I think that well, one thing is that we found that 65% of consumers say that they're willing to pay more for a vehicle with an OBD2 diagnostic report. This
Okay.
means that they want, when they're purchasing, they want a report that says this scan either had issues or it didn't. And if it had issues, it wants to know, did you resolve these issues or are you passing it off to me? 85% of people that we surveyed said that car sellers should be required to provide these diagnostic reports to prospective buyers. They think that there should be a law to come in and say, you need to provide these OBD2 reports when you're selling it, because if not, I don't know what I'm getting.
Mm.
And I think that says something about the market, pretty, that it wants more trust and it wants more transparency. It can be quite hard to find the line between things that are trustworthy and also making sure you're trying to get the best deal. Um, in a bit of a different area, I have a kind of a funny story. I needed to get my oil changed this past year,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to do it myself. It was kind of a cold day, and I wanted to get it done, but I also felt a bit of guilty, and I didn't. So I didn't want to pay a lot for it, and so I found kind of a little shack off the side of the street that I had to go. I walked up to them. I had to go purchase my own oil and my own oil filter, and then come back to them to get it done. And I ultimately uh, it it was a really cheap oil service, but ultimately by the end of it, I was down on my knees with a YouTube video trying to explain to the guy how to
Yeah.
change the oil on my Honda
Mm.
Accord, right? Um, and maybe I should have known better about kind of like what to trust here, but I was the guy had taken the wheel off of my vehicle. I'm sitting there Googling. I'm like, do you have to take the wheel off of your vehicle to change the oil and on an Accord? And everything's like, no. And so ultimately I'm getting down with a YouTube video to help this person change my
Mm.
oil. Right. And all that to say is that I probably shouldn't have trusted these people. It was more of a little shack on the street, but I was also trying to make sure I wasn't getting ripped off by these other, notorious people that will overcharge for oil changes.
Right.
And it's a fine line. It's hard to know who to trust and who not to.
Who not to? And that's another thing that is plaguing the industry right now. There's a shortage of skilled mechanics, and more of them are leaving the trade because of the amount of work it entails and the low pay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't balances out. A 4 year experienced mechanic is equivalent to someone with 4 year university degree, and if they go on to becoming a master tech, it's equivalent with to someone like you who has a engineering a master in engineering degree. So it doesn't just weigh out. It doesn't weigh out. It doesn't balances out, and the
Yeah,
lack of respect in the market itself. But being around the automotive industry, you'll see it as it go along. So we'll
I agree.
know. Yeah, I
We
know.
we ha- we have a great team of mechanics at our company that actually, with the kind of fixed premium, you can call them to get answers to questions that you have, and they're all highly qualified ASC certified mechanics. And I
Hmm.
was talking to him, and he was like, you know, our in dealerships, people used to work in the maintenance and repair department for 50 plus years, right? But
Yeah,
now they're not doing that. There's a ton more churn, and if you go to get something fixed at the dealership, they're much more likely to have less than 5 years in experience,
yeah.
and because people don't want to really work there anymore because of everything you just said.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the lack of respect, and if they actually move from the dealership and go into another career change altogether, they will get 2 or 3 times the amount of salary utilizing the very same skill set. So it has no reward staying at the dealership level. But I tell them, bear it for, it's a 5 year investment, it's a 10 year investment, because it does really pay off in the long run. You just have to keep at it and try to get as much experience as possible, because owning your own shop is the way to go. And if you have access to all the tool, I'm glad that Appraisal Pro is now one of them, then you'll be able to move forward at that next stage in life. So, Jim, sorry, Tim. I don't know why I keep calling you Jim. Please
No
forgive me.
worries. No, they're quite close.
Yeah, they're really, really close. Is there anything, lastly, you would like to share with our audience before you go? Anything much more, any secrets about Appraisal Pro, any big plans coming up, and what do they look forward to in terms of what the product has to offer?
Yeah, great question. We have a good bit to look forward to. We're investing more into not just the issues and identifying the issues that your car currently has right now, but based on big data and our algorithms, what are these vehicles going to see in the next 5,000 miles, 20,000 miles, 50,000 miles,
Yeah.
and how should you incorporate that into your purchasing decisions as a dealership? I think that's really quite exciting, and that's coming out soon into our product for Appraisal Pro. So I'm excited about that. And hey, I do have a question for you. You're up in Canada, right?
Yes, I am.
I like one thing that we've been thinking a lot about is the difference in the markets kind of around the world. And I'm curious, what what are the main kind of differences that you see in the automotive markets in Canada versus the United States?
Well, it's a much larger market in the United States. I mean,
Hmm.
we're just 10% of the population of the US. So that alone tells you exactly where
Hmm.
we are. It's not much. We still have all the major brands here, and they're just fighting for the market share. Not much is here, but we do have a fair share of the amount of cars that being sold. The popular ones are here: the Toyotas, the Hondas.
Right.
The Hyundai is doing very relatively well because they have the low cost, low introductory market as it is. Electric cars are going on very. EVs are picking up, and as you know, the electric car mandate is one such thing that has forced many of us now to try to make the transition. But we're not just there yet because the infrastructure isn't here all across the terrain. And much of our terrain, unlike the United States, we have longer, colder months.
Yeah.
So that is one of the drawbacks here. But places like Montreal in Quebec, they are going full stream ahead, and they are way ahead of the game where electric cars are concerned. But
Hmm.
for a market standpoint, if you want to tap into something, the United States is obviously the number one market in the
Yeah.
world. And unless the economic situation changes in the United States, then it's a wider representation of what is going on across the globe, because that's where the largest spending power resonates. You will tap into other smaller markets, but my experience working in the automotive industry, if you can get even between 5 to 7% market share in the United States, then you're well on your way to becoming to achieving part of your goal in terms of looking at your your key performance indicators where that is concerned.
Yeah.
So a lot of the sorry, I'm rambling here. A lot a lot of
Interesting.
the entrepreneurs I know, they actually make more of their sales from the United States. And if you can find a relatively virgin market in a developing country, that is also somewhere to look at as well.
Yeah. That
But
makes sense.
Canada, in its sense, it's a good market, but you tend to work a lot harder than what it is in the United States itself because the market is huge. It's relatively bigger. The last time I checked, Canada is close to what, 40 million people. You're looking at 350 million in the United States. So
Yep.
that alone tells you exactly where the market lies.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you going into that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, glad I can help. I'm not sure if it's that's something more specific that you wanted to hear. I'll certainly try. But all the data is here. If you go to Statistics Canada, actually gives you everything right down to the T in terms of the market share, where everything lies, cars, people, different segments in different industries. So it's
Yeah.
all there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think one of the main differences I was talking to our mechanic is that, in Canada, it seems like you need to have kind of an apprenticeship and kind of go through more of a standardized program to,
Yes, it is. Yeah,
yeah.
because even mechanics who immigrate here. Well, we're a land of immigrants. Mechanics who immigrate here, they have to go back to school to get their
Hmm.
Red Seal license and then work somewhere else to get another set of referrals in order to get
A lot of work.
into a lot of work. And it goes through a lot of licensing procedures, but they're trying to eliminate that because of how long it takes to get the skilled workers within the program itself, which they very much need. So a lot of individuals, because they see how tedious it can be, they say, you know what, the hell with it. They're going across the border where things
Mm.
are a lot more relaxed, and the power of the dollar and the economics is a lot more reasonable. So that's
Yeah, it
something
makes,
to
I
think
think,
about.
I think when I was talking to some of my mechanics, they were saying they wish kind of the US had a bit more of that standardized program, but definitely interesting to hear the other side where it's like this, it's hard to get these qualifications and it's a ton of work and they're eager, but they don't have, these 4+ years to go into it. So they go to the United States. So
Yeah.
definitely a nuanced system. Yeah.
Yeah, and companies, if they like you, they'll actually fast track you to help you get into it, but they run the risk of, losing you at the end of that tenureship. And
Yeah.
what they try to do is, they call it a bond, I believe, where you're contracted to them
Mm.
for a particular time up until they think that your time has been repaid, and then you can actually either move up within the same company or you move on out. But it's a stepping stone. And licensing, it's not hard, it's relatively easy, but it's just the length of time it actually takes to get going. So imagine someone immigrating here is already in his late 20s. He wants to get the ball going, but he has to go back to school for another 2 years. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a big commitment. Yeah.
it is. So, like I said, is there anything else you want to share with me, the audience? I'm all here. I'm all ears for any other information you may want
Yeah.
to gather.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, we're very excited about our product here at Appraisal Pro. We think that it's what dealerships need to bring transparency and honesty into the market. And we know that our best dealerships scan the car when they're buying it and then show that clean bill of health to the users when they're selling it. And 65% of consumers say they're willing to pay more if you share that document as as you're selling the vehicle to them. And so we think that speaks for itself, and we're eager to continue building new exciting features for Appraisal Pro.
Yes, and I this just came across. It's just that just to add, Appraisal Pro actually gives you a much deeper look into the vehicle's diagnostics, much more like the Carfax. The Carfax will give you the service history,
Mhm.
whereas Appraisal Pro actually tells you exactly what was wrong with the car.
Yeah, Appraisal Pro
Is
is a
something similar?
snapshot of the vehicle right at that moment, and you'll get all the codes and the states that they're in and their control modules, and then we translate it to these layman's terms descriptions, and then the repairs and the costs needed. And then when you combine that with more of these deeper vehicle histories that you may have around title changes, one of the other like really important features of AppraisalPro is that we can detect when somebody has recently cleared their check engine light and are trying
Oh.
to hide check engine lights from you. Because without this tool or without an OBD2 scanner, you can't really look at that. And these consumers are trying to run one past you as a dealership,
Mhm.
right? So the trust goes both ways. And buying and selling cars, it's the second biggest thing that you're buying or selling, right? Behind a house. There's so much anxiety and tension around it.
Yeah.
The least we can do is be transparent and kind of be honest and change this from stealerships to, a proper dealership. And I think that'll just go a long way with the market. And we think it's the key to making this a healthier marketplace.
Well, that's a very big sell. Why didn't you mention that before?
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hiding the check engine light, that is something that is very common here because anyone can order a OB2 sensor off Amazon or eBay or whatever, and then just
Mhm.
clear the check engine light, get that car sold.
Yeah,
Or they're trying to get the car pass for emission testing or something like that. And all they need to do is just erase all those codes on the dash. So with a
exactly.
tool like Appraisal Pro that goes deep and tell you if this car was actually tampered with, and also another infamous thing that people do is reversing that speedometer. So
Mhm.
right, so I
Yeah.
mean, if it's a tool that help detect fraud, then it is something that people are generally going to need. And I'm happy that there's such a tool that will give us that particular information. So I'm kudos to you and the team for coming up with such a tool to help unsuspecting buyers of the fraudulent system that we face and who are out there actually giving the automotive industry a very bad reputation. So
Yeah. Thank you. We think that it's helpful for both the buyers and the consumers. And again, we're very proud of it and excited for its future.
okay. Oh, like I mean, this has been very informative, and that's all for today's episodes and live insight, where I like to bring the people, the unsung heroes behind the technology we're now using. And all we do, we go into a dealership, we buy a car, we drive, we put gas in it, we take it to the mechanic, but we don't know exactly how the schematics and all this newfound technology behind that speedometer and the infotainment system we're using, how it evolved, or how it has evolved in the way and shaping our everyday life. So we hope you leave with a far better understanding of how technology like AI behind Appraisal Pro is shaping the future of car buying. And if you've ever been burned by a bad car deal or you're looking to build more trust, this episode is basically for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. As usual, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.